looking at November compared to last year, only being 10% down, I think is a really positive sign. December, with still, a month or so to go to the holidays, only being 18% down compared to where we were last year is really optimistic. Looking too much further ahead into January, February, March, it's just too early.
That was Jennifer Wessel Hall from the Park City Chamber of Commerce a month ago, talking about the number of reservations for hotels around the ski resorts. Some in the ski industry use this data as a projection of how financially viable the ski season would be. Welcome to our In Focus discussion tonight on the COVID ski season. Back in March, all ski resorts shut down early due to the pandemic. But what can we expect this year, not just for the resorts, but for all businesses that rely on this industry? Joining us now live via Zoom is Mike Cremeno, the Chief Marketing Officer of Ski Butlers. Mike, thank you so much for being here tonight and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
First off, let's talk about your business. It's a really interesting idea. What services do you provide and where did the idea come from?
So we were started in 2004 in Park City, Utah, as a way to make ski rentals more convenient. So we actually deliver the ski rentals directly to our customers' accommodations, whether it be a hotel or an Airbnb or property management company. And then we offer full support throughout their stay. So if they have any issues, we can switch out gear for them, and then we pick it up at the end. So we're their butler for the length of their stay.
You guys are literally ski butlers, and we all know that sometimes carrying around and transporting all that gear can be a pain. Now, what were your initial thoughts when the pandemic hit? Knowing what you knew just throughout these past few months, were you worried?
Yes. We had to move very quickly. When we got the news that the resorts were shutting down around March 14th, we almost had to forget about the future because we had to shut down 50 resorts in about 5 days around the world, which was a massive lift. And once we were able to accomplish that, we kind of reflected on what just happened to our season. And yeah, we were very worried from the top of our organization down. For the ski industry, March is one of, if not the most important months for revenue and profit. So losing over half of that was a big hit for a lot of businesses in the ski industry. So we started just asking ourselves, really difficult questions. How long is this going to last? Will there be a ski season next winter? If there is, will resort openings be state by state? Like maybe Utah resorts open and Colorado doesn't. What about our international business? Would that return or would borders close? So we just really challenged ourselves to ask those questions. And what was, continuing off of that is a lot of people in the industry, not just skiing, but travel in general, had to plan for so many scenarios that may or may not come to fruition, which is really challenging to do. So, what happens if business is way busier than we were expected? How do we scale up with our operational resources so we can manage that demand? Or on the flip side, how do we scale down if it's looking worse than even we were projecting? Safety protocols for a customer service facing business where you're right with the customers are obviously very important. So monitoring all the state and local and CDC governments protocols constantly and adapting ours to make sure we're following those. But at the end of the day, as a company, we have to focus on what we can control and keep our culture strong and always stay positive for our teams and customers. And that's what we've been doing.
And being very creative. Now, what are you seeing with other ski adjacent businesses in Utah? Are their numbers down and is anyone hurting?
Well, I believe for the most part, everyone's numbers are down right now, and there's nuance with what part of the industry, how much that is. But what we saw this summer was really encouraging for the winter. Record sales in outdoor retail, summer recreation, golf. I've been in Park City 10 years, and I've never seen the town as busy as it was this summer with people being able to work from home and kids' school being homeschooled, doing extended stays, coming for a month or 2 months and just enjoying the mountains and kind of mass exiting those urban areas, and people just reminding us in the travel industry that we as humans have an innate desire to travel. We don't like to be cooped up. We like to get out there and enjoy the activities. And luckily for us, skiing is one of the safest sports with COVID. You're already outside, you're already socially distant, you're wearing, in old days, a neck gaiter, now a face mask. So we felt like people would be really strong. And, the biggest hindrance to us hitting our numbers and the ski industry doing well is just people being comfortable getting to the destination, whether it be airplane or by car. But we've seen great studies that Air flight is very safe. People are willing to get in their car and drive up to 16 hours now for a ski trip if they don't want to fly. So, we're really seeing positive trends, even though we all probably are down a little bit.
All right, we have time for one more question. We want to know, do you have any idea or projections about what this ski season is going to be like for you? How are you guys doing now? And what do you look forward to or hopeful for as we move forward in this pandemic and ski season?
Yeah, it's been really hard to compare year over year numbers because nothing is apples to apples right now. And what we're seeing a lot is lead time is shrinking dramatically with people making those vacation decisions. So at Ski Butlers, we normally have a 3-week lead time, which is already short, and that's shrinking to about 10 days as people are just watching the news, looking at the resort information and then making decisions, as well as changing demographics. We're seeing geography with how people are traveling be way different. Our New York market used to be one of the top markets for us at Ski Butlers. It's kind of falling back a little bit with some other states in the southern areas, picking that up. So it's just made it really hard to forecast. But what's been really good is now that the resorts are open and we have people coming, our early season numbers are much stronger than we were projecting. We're actually up year over year to date with what we've delivered on snow. December continues to look really strong in all of our markets. And what we're finally seeing is a little bit of a pickup for February and March, but it's going to be really challenging to project more than 30 days out in this current season. And, what I'm hopeful for is just a successful vaccine and distribution, people enjoying time with their loved ones again. And I think all of us being stuck at home this year, for the most part, is reminding people that they love to travel, and I think demand is going to skyrocket after this season.
All right, you've been hearing from Mike Cremeno, the Chief Marketing Officer of Ski Butlers. Mike, thank you so much for being here tonight, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for staying with us for our second In Focus discussion tonight on the COVID ski season. Resorts play a significant role during the pandemic, essentially acting like a storefront and making sure its shoppers are following the guidelines set by the health department. We spoke with Jared Winkler, the Director of Marketing at Brighton Ski Resort, earlier today about how their season has gone so far. Take a look.
Jared, thanks for joining us tonight. Ski resorts in Utah have been doing really well in the past few years, especially the resorts in the Cottonwood Canyons. This year was expected to get even better, but then COVID hit. What kind of impact did that have?
Yeah, it was kind of rough because exactly like you say, we were doing great as a business. We were doing great for snow, so our guests were having a good time. Like everybody was jazzed that we were setting up to do an amazing year. And again, people were getting what they wanted. Lots of snow, an awesome season so far, and then just kind of got that last quarter taken away from them without much of a heads up.
So how does this year's ski season look different than last year's?
I think the biggest thing that you're noticing that's different is a lot of things are reservation based, being like our rental shop, our ski school. We're encouraging people to purchase tickets online in advance or purchase a season pass so they can go up. Other resorts are even charging like to park, making parking reservations, things like that. At Brighton, our parking is dictated from the amount of parking we have. So that capacity, once it's full, we can't allow anymore. And so that's kind of holding our capacity numbers. And luckily at Brighton, when you talk capacity, our on-hill capacity is larger than our parking lot capacity. So, even though the parking's full, luckily the lifts and the chairs aren't full.
Since Brighton can't take as many people on the mountain this year, that will impact Brighton's revenue. How do you guys make up for that loss?
Unfortunately, to be honest, we did have to raise our prices a little bit. We're not discounting things as much as we did in the past, not as many promotions. And, we're just, everything's planned out that we are going to take that hit. And thinking about it for the future, when you talk about employees, we did have a handful of employees who are lifelong employees say, hey, is it possible for me to take this season off, regroup next year? And then some who just kind of were like, hey, I thought I wanted to work there this year. Maybe this is not my season. Let's do it next year. And so we've had to scramble a little bit, find employees who are comfortable working up there, comfortable working around, our protocols. And it's worked out fine. Like people are happy. We're excited to see some of those, and a lot of those ski people who didn't want to come back were a little older, a little more serious about it. And so we want to make sure that they can stay safe. And so we'd like them to come back next year.
So how has the turnout on the slopes been so far this year?
Numbers have been great. I mean, people are really enjoying it. I think people have more flexibility in their lives right now. Season passes, we've done well, but just as many passes sold as last year. And people are excited to be up there skiing. And, they understand that they may not be able to hang out in our food and beverage establishments as long. They're happy to come up and, brown bag it out of their car and just really try to get out on the slopes, because really the one thing that hasn't changed is once you get to the top of the lift and start skiing down, it's exactly what you'd expect it to be. And, we're just waiting for more snow.
What about ski school? Any impact on that?
Class group sizes have shortened. They've gotten smaller. There's some of the age groups. Like I think we used to take skiers from the age of 3 and up, but this year we're only taking them, 8 and up, just because the younger kids kind of need more attention and more touching and more kind of helping them get up off the snow when they fall and things like that.
And what about lodging? Any impact there?
I always say this, luckily for Brighton, we're more of like a locals resort, and our market is, Salt Lake City, and we don't have a huge lodge. Our lodge is very small, and it's a fun place that it's very easy for us to fill. And through all this, it's stayed full, and it's actually set up for quarantine because it's so small and quaint.
What do you hope happens from here moving forward through the rest of the ski season as we continue to fight COVID?
Hopefully we can keep everybody safe and all our guests work with us together, and that we can expect to stay open the entire year. We don't want a breakout to happen or anything to cause us to close early. And so with that, we're asking for everyone's cooperation, that they wear masks when they get to the ski resort. They wear those masks properly up and over their nose, from leaving their car through the lift lines. If they're skiing down with their mask down, that's okay. But everywhere that they're expected to social distance, put on that mask and cover your nose. And if you have a lightweight mask, sometimes double that up, make sure that we all stay safe. And that's going to be the biggest thing, is just wearing masks.
Jared, I'd like to give you the last word. Anything else you'd like our viewers to know that we haven't talked about yet?
Updates. People always want to know what's happening up there, especially on a snowy weekend, like for parking or canyon conditions. Like our first source is Twitter. So if you want to log into the Brighton Resort Twitter, you can follow us. You can find out when the parking lot is full. Their algorithm tends to work better for those locations. And then any other updates, you can always go to our website at brightonresort.com or Brighton Resort on Instagram, Facebook. We got them all. But, the main thing is be safe, bring your mask, maybe bring another mask just in case your first mask gets all wet and snowy and you want a nice warm one to wear in the lodge. And, let's have fun.
You've been hearing from Jared Winkler, Director of Marketing for Brighton Ski Resort. Jared, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are wishing you guys a good ski season.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome to our third and final In Focus discussion tonight on the COVID ski season. Tonight, we're looking at the ski industry during the time of COVID. Resorts changing their process, with businesses that rely on the ski season adapting to survive. Joining us now live via Zoom is Anelise Bergin, Director of Communications at Ski Utah, which is a group representing Utah's ski and snowboard industry. Anelise, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Now, if there wasn't a pandemic this year, what would some numbers look like that we generally see in Utah, such as how many people ski, how many tourists come through, or how much money the industry normally brings in?
Well, a great example would be the winter before last, the 18-19 winter. Another record visitation year that winter. So we saw 5.1 million skier visits that winter, which was a direct economic impact of about $1.6 billion. Last season, we still actually had our 4th highest visitation on record, even with the early closures. We saw 4.4 million skier visits, and we still actually had our 2nd highest economic impact at 1.5 billion. So, I would expect that this season, we might hit right in the middle of that, or maybe just right around last year's number if I'm looking ahead and taking a wild guess. But, we are seeing strong visitation already, just as Mike and Jared mentioned.
Well, that's good news. Are you seeing any negative impacts or maybe concerning impacts in the ski industry during the pandemic for this season?
You know, that's hard to say right now. It's hard to say what the rest of the ski season is going to look like. But if we can continue to operate safely, and that's the ski resort's #1 goal, is to stay open safely and keep our guests and our employees safe. So if we can continue to operate as we are, and everyone can cooperate with the different guidelines, I would say that our winter is on a great track to do really well.
Well, what happened over the summer was that skiing was happening in the southern hemisphere during the pandemic. Can you draw any conclusions as to what the year will be like in Utah from what was going on down there?
Yeah, and you know, during the summer, we were so fortunate where we were able to communicate with a lot of the ski resorts in the Southern Hemisphere. They were very willing to share a lot of information about what was going on, how it was working, how they were limiting capacity, and how they were working with their local governments, which was extremely helpful for us. We got a little lucky, you know, where we had more time to prepare. So coming into this ski season, having in the summer and experienced some positive operations through the summer, we were in a really good place to actually open this fall, where we had a few more months than the resorts in the Southern Hemisphere, a little bit more experience, know a little bit more about this pandemic and what we can do to reduce that exposure at ski resorts.
What are you seeing with all the resorts? Are they all working together for common guidelines for skiing and snowboarding during the pandemic?
Yes, that's actually something just so unique to Utah itself. All 15 of our resorts are constantly working together and have been really since March 14th, when all of our ski resorts started shutting down. They work extremely closely together. They meet multiple times a month even to discuss our operations and walk through what we can do to work together. So they've all come together and actually really made a lot of the same guidelines. And so even before the statewide mask mandate had gone into effect, all of the ski resorts had already agreed that all of them would be requiring masks in their base areas and obviously in their lodges and wherever social distancing couldn't be achieved. All of them are also loading lifts by household only, or by, if single skiers are okay with skiing on one on each side of the lift, they can do that, or they can ski alone if they prefer. So what's really great about Utah resorts is they are a united front, and they've worked really well together to come up with the best possible way to operate and share those best practices with each other.
What would you like the public to know in regards to ticketing, parking, and using services like the lodges and lifts?
I would say the name of the game this season is to plan ahead and practice patience. We're all really grateful to be back skiing. We're all really excited to be back skiing. I know I am, but it's so important this year more than ever to think ahead. I know a lot of us are used to living the luxury here in Utah where we can just get up in the morning without even thinking, run up to whatever resort we want to, but you'll need to think ahead a little bit more this year. Go to skiutah.com/COVID-19, and that is a great summary page to see what every resort is requiring as far as reservations for passes or tickets, whether or not you're required to purchase tickets ahead of time, what their parking limitations may be, and it also has a link to each of the ski resorts' COVID information page so that you can dive more specifically into the details of the resort you're looking to go to. So think ahead, and also if you can, ski weekdays. I've always said that weekdays are an amazing time to ski here in Utah, but more than ever, we're able to do that with some of our jobs here and having a little bit more flexibility. So plan ahead, ski some weekdays, and practice patience and kindness with each other and with the resort employees.
All right, you've been hearing from Anelise Bergin, the Director of Communications at Ski Utah. Anelise, thank you so much for joining our discussion tonight and helping us get an update on how our ski industry is doing.
Thank you. Enjoy your winter.
You too.